I'm going to give you a roundup of today's top news. Let me start with the unfortunate demise of Sidharth Shukla and the post-mortem that was underway. Well, India Today has found out that the post-mortem report suggests that there has been no foul play in the death of Sidharth Shukla. There's been no internal or external injury, and that's sort of given some sort of comfort to the family, I'm sure, who is waiting to understand what was the reason of death. Could there have been any foul play? Of course, even the parents of Sidharth Shukla did not raise any suspicion of foul play, but a lot of questions that are being raised on what kind of medication he was on, because there was some report that suggested that he consumed a medicine the previous night and then woke up in the middle of the night complaining of heavy chest and severe pain. He called up, he rang his mother. Mother came rushing. She lives in an apartment just below his building. She came to his house, gave him a glass of water, asked him to just rest for a little longer and see how he feels in the morning. So he went to sleep, and unfortunately when the mother came back in the morning at around 9 a.m. to check on him, he never woke up. And according to the doctors at the Cooper Hospital, they say that he was brought dead to the hospital, and that's why it leaves a lot of questions on the kind of medication that he could have been on. The viscera report is still pending. Basically, the post-mortem report is done. It took about 3 hours for them to conduct a thorough post-mortem. All of it was videographed because the cops this time did not want to take a chance after Sushant Singh Rajput's death previously. This time, they've been quite thorough with their investigation. They've done it thrice over, only to check if there's anything that's missing or that smells foul. Apart from that, the viscera report is still to be completed. That's to be submitted as yet, and the viscera report will really give us more clarity on whether this death was unnatural. They do a proper thorough scan of the chest, the abdomen, the pelvis, the internal tests that will be done to see what was consumed and if anything was poisonous, if anything turned out to be fatal for him. So this is the latest update when it comes to Sidharth Shukla. Now his mortal remains will be brought to his house in Oshiwara, and he will be cremated in just about a few hours. Family is just waiting for the post-mortem to complete, and that's over now. So the body will be handed over to the family. It will be taken, in fact, the initial plan was to be taken to Brahma Kumari Foundation, but due to lack of permission, it appears that plan currently is cancelled. Apart from that, you have already TV celebrities and people from, who knew Sidharth Shukla quite well, coming in, pouring in their respects, meeting the family members. Let me tell you, it's devastating because Sidharth Shukla was very close to his mother. Sidharth lost his father at a very young age. He was very, very close to his mother, and the bond that they shared was very visible on most of his, reality shows, where he always often spoke of his mother. Never forget to make a mention of her, which is why it's really heartbreaking, and really all our condolences going out to the family of Sidharth Shukla. Let me cut across to the ED probe that's currently underway with regards to Tollywood's 2017 drug case. Now, there was a drug probe or a drug bust that took place in 2017 within the Tollywood film industry, predominantly in Hyderabad, in Andhra and Telangana. Of course, you had Rakul Preet today, who appeared before the Enforcement Directorate for questioning with regards to this 2017 Tollywood drug probe. Many other actors have been called in. Of course, there's no direct allegation that they were involved in this, but there are links or some kind of talk about money that was unaccounted for money that was passed through without evidence. The money that was that the ED is currently probing could be some sort of laundering, and it eventually came down to connect with this Tollywood drug probe. So a few actors, including Rakul Preet, in fact just yesterday Charmi Kaur was grilled for 8 hours. And then you have Rana Daggupati, one of the top actors, Bahubali fame. He's going to be coming in just a couple of days' time before the Enforcement Directorate. You have Ravi Teja, the biggest star in Tollywood, who's also been summoned. You have a few other producers who are going to be called in and questioned about this drug case of Tollywood, linked with some money laundering allegations. Whether these people are involved or not, of course, only after a much investigation it will be confirmed. This, remember, has been going on since 2017. 4 years on, they're still being called in. Now, West Bengal, we're seeing politics brewing over right before Durga Puja. You have 3 puja committees in West Bengal who have come together to make a massive idol, more or less trying to depict Durga, Ma Durga. But here the idol more or less looks like Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee. This has not gone down well with some of the Hindutva groups. Quite naturally, BJP has hit out badly. In fact, this idol here has 10 hands and it will showcase 10 schemes of Mamata Banerjee government, of the West Bengal government. So the committee members say that people in the state of West Bengal think Mamata Banerjee of Lord Durga. But BJP, Amit Malviya says that this is terrible, it's atrocious, and it's nauseating to see something like that, and that Mamata Banerjee has blood on her hands of innocent Bengalis after the post-poll violence that took place. And here's the idol that looks like Mamata Banerjee. It's not done, they must stop it, and she's hurting Hindu sentiments. This is Amit Malviya's response. Now let me quickly cut to Tamil Nadu. We have a similar scene happening there. Tamil Nadu government has now banned any installation of idols at public places and carrying out any processions during Ganesh Chaturthi, which is coming soon in view and light of COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, this again, the Hindu groups within the state have really objected to. They've been backed fully by the BJP. You saw Annamalai as well, the BJP president who's right there, part of those protests. In fact, the members of the Hindu Munnani, the association, held prayer protest in about 230 locations across Tamil Nadu, and they've of course condemned this move and saying that they will not hesitate to defy Stalin government's orders. Now, a quick word on this very mysterious viral fever that's gripped Uttar Pradesh, especially Firozabad district. We're looking at over 50 confirmed deaths owing to this viral fever. I mean, what exactly is this viral fever? One can't say, because there's no investigation that's been done as yet on exactly what's causing this fever. Doctors, of course, are baffled. They're clueless. 50 deaths and more. In fact, many children have died, and that's what's really shocking. The very unusual symptoms, we understand, except of course for the regular, you have fever and chilly body ache and all of that. You also have symptoms of inflamed liver, water retention in the stomach, and symptoms like that. So that's quite shocking. We're looking at a 100-bed hospital in Firozabad, Uttar Pradesh, where people literally have flooded that hospital. You have people rushing to various different hospitals. You have Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath. He, in fact, visited that hospital as well. He suspended 2 doctors for laxity. He's taken quite some action, but there's no understanding on what this fever is all about. Is this, could this be infectious? Could this spread so quickly like the way COVID-19 did? It's really alarming, because we're already part of a pandemic. We don't want another epidemic within this pandemic, and that's what's really scary right now. Of course, all eyes on that viral fever, on what exactly is causing it. The health experts now are trying to probe into how this can be stopped at the earliest. Let me quickly cut across to Afghanistan, which India Today is of course extensively covering. We are the only channel on ground giving you credible updates from the war-torn country Afghanistan. Panjshir, which is a long-standing free province. In fact, Taliban is trying their best to enter Panjshir. They've covered Panjshir from all 4 sides and all corners. They've tried to force Panjshir to bow down to the Taliban, but Panjshir has fought back. According to Panjshir, there are 2 contradictory statements coming in from Afghanistan. On one side, you have Panjshir representatives of the resistance front who claim that there are over 112 Talibanis who've been killed and they've managed to put up a tough fight. On the other, you have Taliban saying that they have everything under control. Panjshir is under their control. It's only about time that the resistance front agrees to be part of the Taliban's Islamic Emirate and obey to the rules of the new government. And this, of course, has not gone down well, with friction still underway. And while that's happening, you still have talks between the resistance front and the Taliban that's still underway. They've not come to a conclusion as yet. They're trying to come to an understanding on how they can both coexist, but doesn't seem like the resistance front want to agree to it, want to agree to the Taliban take over completely or rule them as per their rules and hardline laws, as per the Sharia law. And why not? One can only imagine the Taliban, what they did in the 90s after they took over. They literally pulled back Afghanistan 100 years archaic. In fact, giving them the most archaic governance that really didn't result in the progress of the country. So it's and more or less, with a lot of terror and force that was used to implement that strict hardline laws. So that's why it's a little scary for anybody to really believe the word of Taliban that they want peaceful, inclusive governance going forward. Now, whilst all that's said and done, while you have Panjshir still fighting for some relevance, the Northern Alliance, the Resistance Front pushing their way and wanting to push out Taliban as much as they can, it seems almost unlikely with the fact that Taliban has completely gotten a strong grip of Afghanistan right now. They are all set to form a new government. In fact, let me take you through a few key highlights here. After Friday's prayers, they're all supposed to be announcing the leadership hierarchy. In fact, India Today has learned that the supreme leader will be Haibatullah Akhundzada, who will now be heading the new Afghan government. He will be the spiritual guru as sorts. Then you have Abdul Ghani Baradar, who might be picked as the president of Afghanistan, and this regime more or less might just have a prime minister as well as per reports. And then you have Mohammad Stanekzai, who's supposed to be now the new foreign minister of Afghanistan. In fact, he also had a conversation with the Indian envoy in Qatar as well. In fact, this was in Doha. India's Qatar envoy, beg your pardon, in Doha. Mohammad Stanekzai had a conversation with him, and Stanekzai was the man who actually spoke about how India is an important player in the region and that Afghanistan must keep good ties with the country as they want to continue with trade practices with India. Well, of course, Taliban will want to recognize India. No doubt, we are one of the largest players in Asia or in their neighborhood. It's very hard for India to accept Taliban. How could we even possibly give them or acknowledge them, give them legal status? A terror group that has harbored terrorist organizations like the Al-Qaeda, it's really hard for us to digest the fact that we've got to eventually move forward to do business with them. So this is it's a catch-22 situation for India, undoubtedly, because we've already invested billions into that country in infrastructure. There's a lot of trade practices that was taking place in the past. So should we stop it? Should we move forward? What do we do? Of course, the foreign ministry is now trying to understand what the nitty-gritties of this complexities, and we'll see what they can do best at the earliest. And they also have Sadr Ibrahim, a Taliban leader who is now an expert in roadside blasts. He is now going to be possibly the home minister of Afghanistan. And meanwhile, you have Taliban now in victory mode as they are all set to announce the hierarchy. They carried out a massive parade in an unknown location where all of the Taliban militants paraded with their military arms and ammunition. This is the arms and ammunition that they used in 2 decades of war, killing on a rampage anybody that came in their way. In fact, let me take you through what they've paraded. In this parade, of course, you can log on to indiatoday.in to actually get a glimpse of the kind of arms and ammunitions that they paraded in this victory parade. They had car bombs, they had roadside bombs, they had VBIEDs, which is the vehicle-borne improvised explosive devices, which was used by Taliban commanders for some deadly precision attacks. You had several other, like you had Dragunov sniper rifles that they had on display while they paraded. You had American M4s to the anti-aircraft guns and rocket-propelled grenades. This is exactly what, and car bombs, like literally a car laden with explosives was paraded as one of their assets. So this is what the Taliban did while they paraded their victory and announced that this is officially now the Islamic Emirates. And we just shudder to think, as a closest neighbor who've never, of course, accepted Taliban and would maybe never really do in the future as well, because we know that their fabric is attached with terror, which is why it becomes all the more difficult for us to deal with them. Now, as I wrap here, I'd like to end with heavy rains that's lashed United States of America. You have New York City, which is completely inundated. This is the storm Ida that's wreaked havoc in the northeastern United States. In fact, New York governor has declared a state of emergency in New York as well. 44 people have lost their lives in the flash floods in New York and the surrounding areas. In basically 4 northeastern states collectively, 44 people have died. So this is a huge number for United States to be having flash floods like this. Apparently, after Hurricane Katrina, this is the worst ever storm that has consumed United States, killing many on ground. There is a state of emergency, but